Well, the Young Turks, we got a lovely, hey, look at this studio shot. That's fascinating. What's happening there? Was that on purpose? Oh, it was. Ah, all right, cool. Give it to me again. One more time. I don't even know where the camera is. Where the hell is it? Is that we're going with a wide shot over there. Fascinating. Okay. Okay. So now you know. We'll experiment with that as we always do on the Young Turks. Speaking of experiments, look at what we're doing here. All right, we're starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do an hour of politics and news, and then we're going to do an hour of entertainment, current events, all that kind of fun stuff. Kid gets tasered in Philadelphia. That's fantastic. I believe we have a story of Ed Balls. No, that's actually in the first hour. We have women that are addicted to porn. I said it's in the third hour. Actually, today it's in the second hour. All right, so we got great stories for you guys, and then some fantastic interviews in the third hour. All right, look, let's get started. Not a lot of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Faisal Shahzad has been arrested. He has been arrested. This is the guy who tried to, as far as we can tell, trying to detonate a bomb in Times Square. He was apparently at the airport trying to catch a flight to Dubai when we got him. And it appears that he is originally from Pakistan. He is a United States citizen. He was just naturalized last year, and of course there's going to be controversies as to how we deal with him. But first, I want to play you some dramatic tape we have from the cockpit of the Emirates flight that he was on, or perhaps on, as it is told to turn around, go.
123 Nana, Emirates 202, good on.
Emirates 202 Heavy Kennedy Tower, runway 22 right position. Actually, I have a message for you to go back to the gate immediately, so make the left turn when able.
So, 202, turning left here.
Hi, Emirates 202, make the left turn onto Echo, left Alpha, back to the ramp. I don't know exactly why, but you can call your company for the reason.
We'll do that. Left onto Echo, then onto Alpha, and back to the gate via Golf.
Yes, whatever is convenient.
Emirates 202. Ground Emirates 202 Heavy.
Emirates 202 Heavy, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. We're trying to figure out what's going on here right now, but as far as we know, I'd like to request you to just keep the flight plan open for now.
Emirates 202 Heavy, no problem. Flight plan's good for another 2 hours.
Thanks.
All right, that was some dramatic stuff. We Echo Alpha, back to the gate. We need you to go immediately. Slash whenever it's convenient for you. In the second round, it's like, when convenient, turn around, etc. In the beginning, the story was sold like there were SWAT teams on top of the plane with like ready to go with. Okay, all right. She said just turn around immediately. Okay, I got you. So now the question is, was he on the plane or was he not on the plane? Because they took 3 people off the plane. Some reports have him on the plane along with 2 others, and then those 2 others are questioned and then put back on the plane. They had nothing to do with anything. Some reports are saying that he was not on the plane. They were just looking for perhaps co-conspirators, and that those 2 people turned out to be not co-conspirators, so they were put back on the plane. So, but either way, they did get him at the airport. There's no question about that. Of course, immediately launching several controversies. Number one, how could he get on a plane when he was on a no-fly list? He had no run-ins with authorities earlier. They put him on the no-fly list a couple of hours ago. So when they found out that he was a suspect, because they traced the car back to him, the SUV, he had bought the car, he thought he was clever, and he took the number off the dashboard for the car, the registration number, but it's also on the engine. Oops, didn't think of that. So that led back to him. They catch him, and before they caught him, they're like, all right, put his name on the no-fly list. And guess what? He didn't fly. Mission accomplished. Seems pretty good, right? In a matter of a couple of hours, and this, as far as him being put on the no-fly list, and then the event obviously happened over the weekend, so it took about 50 hours before they got him. I don't know who should get the credit for it. New York police, FBI, probably a combination thereof. Fantastic job of catching him before he leaves the country. I know who shouldn't get blamed. Those guys. They caught him. I don't know what more you want from them. Okay, and the plane didn't take off under any circumstances, so I don't see any problems there. Now, so-called controversy number 2. I hope he doesn't get Miranda warnings. Otherwise, we'll have more terrorist plots. Yeah, because the terrorist is like, well, I'll do the bombing if I get Miranda warnings. But if I don't get Miranda warnings, if I'm caught later, I probably won't do the bombing. Which terrorist thinks like that? All right, so these are not like, guys off the street. United States senators and congressmen. John McCain saying he shouldn't get Miranda warnings. He's a United States citizen. Okay? Steve King, same thing, congressman from New York. Of course, Joe Lieberman. He says, oh, well, there's an old law, and an old law says that we can take people out of citizenship, and maybe we should go back to that. Here's Stephen King's quote. I hope that Attorney General Eric Holder did discuss this with the intelligence community. If they believe they got enough from him, how much should they get? Did they Mirandize him? I know he's an American citizen, but still. But still what? Now, look, think about the absurd suggestion Lieberman has and what McCain and King are backing up, that we remove him from his status as American citizen and then do not Mirandize him because he's a terrorist suspect. But we haven't proven anything yet. We don't know that he did it. Now, look, they seem pretty sure, and I, generally speaking, maybe I might be wrong about this, but I trust the FBI that they got the right guy, and not every case, but, look, it looks like they're pretty certain on this one. But I don't trust them like, oh, well, then okay, we don't need a trial. Of course we need a trial. Of course we need to see if they got the right guy. Do you remember the Bush years when they got wrong guy after wrong guy? Let alone the ones that they put in Guantanamo Bay because somebody turned them in for $5,000 somewhere in the middle of Afghanistan. I mean, look, it doesn't matter. The whole point of the Constitution is we have trials for American citizens. We don't just decide, oh, okay, they're guilty because the authorities said so. Let's not only not give them Miranda warnings or their constitutional rights, but let's preemptively strip them of their American citizenship. That's mental. Okay, under that philosophy, all you got to do is accuse anyone of being a terrorist suspect. Okay, I think you're a terrorism suspect, Sean Hannity, so you're no longer an American citizen. Okay, now I take away your rights. Oh, right-wingers don't like that. All of a sudden, that's constitutional issues. Oh, well, of course, only if it's for right-wingers. But for a guy named, Faisal Shahzad, obviously you strip him of American citizenship. Look, that doesn't make any sense. And if you're a real conservative, and all these guys that are concerned about, oh, big government is coming, and Constitution, they're holding on to their constitutions. Well, you would think that that proposal was terrible and disastrous. And guess what? Are you ready for a big surprise? You know who agrees with us? Glenn Beck. Beck said on Fox this morning, he said, look, the Constitution holds, whether it's popular or unpopular. And the guy, Brian Kilmeade, interviewing him on Fox and Friends, was like, but come on, this guy's a terrorist. And Beck said, no, he's, has certain constitutional rights. Of course he does. I can't believe that now Beck has become the sane one among conservatives, at least on this issue, for the moment being. Do you believe in miracles? And Kilmeade is such a tool. Oh, but come on, he's just accused of being a terrorist suspect. Brian, how about when you get accused? And we say, well, you no longer have any rights, so you don't get to prove whether you're innocent or guilty. That doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. And if you're a conservative, you'd be totally against that. If you're a liberal, you'd be totally against that. If you're an American and understand the concept of America, you'd be totally against that. But apparently, John McCain, Joe Lieberman, and Stephen King, among others, don't understand the concept of America. So it's unreal that they think that that's the direction that people should go. Let's see, anything else on Shahzad? Oh, okay, by the way, so what wound up happening? Did we Mirandize him and it wound up being disastrous and he realized, oh my God, I've got rights, I should shut up? No, of course not. First of all, it turns out we have read him his rights now. According to the latest FBI report. And guess what he's doing? Cooperating and confessing. Yeah. Okay, so Look, we've been doing this a long time. Just because you read somebody their Miranda rights doesn't mean that they don't cooperate. And you schmucks, if you don't read them his Miranda rights and he confesses, later you can't use it in court against him. And it becomes much harder to convict him of attempted murder and terrorism charges, etc. What do you want to do? Let him go? I mean, the bottom line is, they just don't believe in the justice system at all, right? They don't think the American justice system works, I guess. Look, if you don't Mirandize him, and he's a U.S. citizen, and he confesses, and you can't use it in court, well, what are you going to do with him? I bet you the idiots would say something like, oh, he's Muslim, put him in Guantanamo Bay. Look, were there any discussions of not Mirandizing the abortion doctor killer, Scott Roeder? No. I mean, he's a terrorist. He shot a doctor in cold blood. He meant to terrorize him and that entire community. Was there any question about whether we should Mirandize the guy, the shooter in the Holocaust Museum? How about the guy who shot all the cops in Pittsburgh? Were there any questions about Mirandizing any of these people? How about the Unabomber? How about the Olympic bomber, Eric Rudolph? How about any of these guys? Look, as much as I hate all of them, and in this case, the guy was trying to light an enormous bomb in the middle of Times Square. I got friends and family in New York. A friend of mine could have been walking by that incredibly easily. Do I want this clown of all clowns, this terrorist, to be able to blow up a bomb in Times Square? Hell no! Hell no! Nobody wants that less than I do, obviously. And do I like the Unabomber or Tim McVeigh? Do I think they're swell? Of course not. But that doesn't mean that as American citizens they don't have rights. What we do is we believe in our justice system, we try them, we convict them, and in the case of Tim McVeigh, he got the death penalty. And in the case of many of the other guys, they're sitting in a maximum security prison in Colorado. That's how it works. I feel like I got to remind the conservatives every single time because the knuckleheads don't understand how this country works. Okay, and if it is really this guy, and he was the one that tried to light that bomb in Times Square, you know what I want? I want him convicted and put away for life. A friend of mine could have been walking by that bomb and gotten killed by this guy. I'm saying the most obvious things, but with conservatives these days, you're forced into the position of saying, did you know that the Constitution has rights for U.S. citizens? Did you know 2 + 2 = 4? Did you know that? Jesus. All right, so that's Pfizer. Oh, and then just another quick note on him before we move on. He apparently has, like I said, confessed that he's the one who did it. He says he didn't have any co-conspirators, but you know, I'm certainly not going to take him at his word, and neither is the FBI. And in Pakistan, they've arrested a couple other guys that might be linked to him. They might or might not. Obviously, they're looking into it. One guy who apparently is definitely a friend or associate of his. So you guys know the background on this guy. He was living in Connecticut. This alleged, not alleged bomber. I don't like to say alleged. It seems like it's definitely him. But this attempted bomber. That's what I mean. So Shahzad was living in Connecticut, but he went to Peshawar in Pakistan to get training. So yesterday, the New York police led us to believe that no, it probably was not connected to Pakistan, but it almost certainly is because he got training in Pakistan. That's why they were arresting some guys, or at least questioning some guys in Pakistan. And he got militant training, came back, and apparently that training was not very good because the bomb didn't go off, thank God, and was described by authorities as amateurish. And then he came back here. They interviewed his neighbors and stuff in his neighborhood in Connecticut. And of course, everybody said the standard things like, you know, we didn't see this coming. He was a quiet guy. We never thought anything about it. And then they got into absurd details like, well, the SUV was really originally listed at $1,800, but he only really wanted to pay $1,300. Okay, and he came up with all these absurd details. I can't remember all of them now about his habits that had absolutely nothing to do with the bombing. But so it looks like we got the guy, and let's see if he is connected to any more people here in the U.S. And of course, no word yet on whether it's connected to South Park at all. And you know, that's a theory that was thrown out there. Viacom building is a couple of blocks down. It doesn't look like it, but you never know. Look, they told us yesterday that it probably wasn't a Pakistani guy, and it turns out, yeah, it's a Pakistani American. And one last note on it, Mayor Bloomberg, among others, are all doing a very good job being responsible and saying, hey, listen, everybody, bring it down. Obviously, this doesn't have anything to do with all Pakistani Americans or all Muslim Americans. It's just this particular guy, and we got him. All right, and that's, of course, the right thing to say. In the upcoming days, I'm sure we will have updates from conservatives from you guys saying, no, that's it, racial profiling, Muslims, etc. All the things they don't want done to them in their conspiratorial, paranoid mind, they're going to want to do to this group. That's my prediction. That's my guess. Let's see how it turns out, okay? All right, now when we come back, awesome idiot Republicans on oil drilling. You're not going to believe the direction they're going. Unreal. All right, come right back. Young Turks.
Sound like a bad joke, but mama,
all right, back on the Young Turks. I got a lot of things for you. I make a lot of big ones. I make a lot of little ones. I'm going to start with an interesting thing going on in Arkansas right now. Bill Halter is the progressive candidate running against Blanche Lincoln. Blanche Lincoln is a so-called Democrat, and her latest bill on derivatives is a good one, but that's partly because there's a progressive running against her in the primary. So what the corporations want to do is they want to keep Blanche Lincoln in power, or maybe even a Republican, because both of those are corporatists. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, along with a group called Americans for Job Security, have decided to run some ads against Bill Halter. Now, Bill Halter, again, is the progressive candidate looking to protect the little guy, protect the workers against the large corporations, etc. Now, will he do that once he's in the Senate? We'll have to see, right? But those are what he appears to be striving for, right? So what Americans for Job Security is going to do is they're going to flip that on its head. Because, in fact, they're against the Employee Free Choice Act, so they're against the unions, etc. This group is. And therefore, one of their main causes for repealing the estate tax so that the richest Americans get to pass on their money to their kids and their grandkids with very, very little taxes, okay? So it's literally aimed at the richest people in the country, right? Now, what they're going to do instead is they're going to pretend that they're on the side of the little guy and the workers who are trying to have jobs in Arkansas. But just to make it a little bit more fun, they're going to add a little racist angle to it. And this is the ad that they're going to run against Bill Halter. Here it is.
Thank you, Bill Halter. Thank you.
While millionaire Bill Halter was a highly paid director of a U.S. company, they exported American jobs to Bangalore, India.
Bangalore needs many, many jobs. Thank you, Bill Halter.
With almost 65,000 Arkansans out of work, we need jobs too.
Thank you, Bill Halter.
Bangalore says, thanks, Bill Halter. Arkansas, tell Bill Halter, thanks for nothing. Americans for Job Security is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Not very subtle. Look at these brown people taking your jobs. Thank you, Bill Halter. Come on, man. That's a real political ad for a Senate race. Unreal. So did his company actually export jobs to Bangalore, India? They opened up an office in Bangalore, but according to the Securities and Exchange Commission filings, they do not refer to any loss of American jobs in connection with the opening in the Bangalore office. By the way, you know who else opens offices all over the world, including in Tehran, Iran? Halliburton. So would we have run an ad against Dick Cheney with a bunch of Iranians going, "Thank you, Mr. Cheney, for opening up office here and taking jobs and bringing them to Iran"? I don't know what kind of accent that was. Okay, but that's probably the kind of accent they would have in an Americans for Job Security ad. And what was that? Were those Indian accents? Anyway, so look, it's nonsense. It's absolute propaganda. And then, of course, ironically, when you look for Americans for Job Security and what they're pushing for on their website, it says that they fight to open new markets for American entrepreneurs, meaning they believe in free trade, and I believe in free trade, but open borders, okay, and so if your job gets exported somewhere else, well, they're opening new markets for American entrepreneurs. Do you understand? Now, you can agree or disagree with that, but that same people and that same organization cannot run that ad. I mean, don't let them trick you, man. They try to make it seem as if the guy who's actually fighting for the workers in Arkansas is the one fighting against them. It's classic conservative propaganda, classic corporatist propaganda. And you think that the multinational corporations that back that organizations, Americans for Job Security, you think they don't have any international offices anywhere else? They only have offices in Arkansas? What a joke. The whole thing's a joke. All right, so now, speaking of jokes, look at the Republican reaction to the oil spill. Now, look, these guys chanted, drill, baby, drill. And we got it on tape and we showed it to you earlier. Sarah Palin, Michael Steele, all of them. They're like, yeah, offshore drilling, that's the way to go. Now, all of a sudden, we have a major disaster because of offshore drilling. And their favorite guys that give them all the paychecks, you know, whether it's BP, a multinational corporation, or Halliburton, Transocean, etc., all the different oil companies that are in the Gulf of Mexico, well, the Republicans, those are their boys. So they can't, you know, go against them. So what are they going to do? They got to make something up. Here comes Rick Perry first, governor of Texas, saying, well, maybe it wasn't really anybody's fault. Maybe it was an act of God. Really? God made the oil rig explode? First of all, that's not cool. I wouldn't blame God like that. Second of all, what the hell did God have to do with the cementing operation of Halliburton on that rig? You know, why? Of course. It is a corporation. It must protect corporate America. And again, it's not even America. It's multinational corporations like BP. Must protect the corporations. I am Republican. He says, no, you can't have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, how big did the disaster have to be before we have any kind of reaction? He says, no, we have to absolutely keep doing offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico and all across the country, obviously. But you think he's bad. Wait till you get a load of Boehner and Democrat Senator Mary Landrieu. They say it's time to expand oil drilling offshore. Unrepentant. No, time to double down. You know what? Boehner says, this tragedy should remind us that Americans need a real comprehensive energy plan, like the Republicans' all of the above strategy. All of the above strategy is let's do it all. Let's do nuclear, let's do offshore oil drilling. So he says this disaster involving offshore oil drilling should remind you that we need to do more offshore oil drilling. How? How would it remind me of that? It would seem to remind me of something else, the exact opposite. But if you think all those guys are bad, wait till you get a load of Mary Landrieu. And of course, Mary Landrieu is one of the biggest corporatist Democrats in the country. And does she take money from the oil companies who do the offshore drilling? Of course she does. That's exactly what I said when she first came out in support of them. I said, I bet you she takes tremendous amount of money from the oil companies. And now we find out, of course she does, right? So what does she say about the drilling? She says, let us not react with fear and let us not retreat. Yeah. We should attack the oil spill before it attacks us. We have to attack it over there before they come over here. So we don't retreat. What do we do? Landrieu, Boehner, Perry, what should we do? Go pour more oil in the middle of the Gulf? Be like, oh yeah, we're going to attack you, you son of a bitch. Here's more oil. I'll spill more on top of it. I don't retreat. Yesterday we played a clip from Fox News. Brett Hume's like, oh, what's Obama going to do? Run like a little bunny rabbit? Is that what he's going to do? If he was a real man, he'd spill more oil in the water and go, ha, you like me now? There's your dead fish and your tourist and your fishing. Ha! Environment. What are you, a bunny rabbit? What are you going to do in a country that's filled with, you know, one party that is just, it's not that they're stupid, right? It's that they're completely disingenuous. They are 1,000,000% in the back of the corporations, in the back pocket of the corporations. And they have no intention of ever representing you. It's a joke. Everything they do is a ruse to get more money in their pockets. And that's one party, the Republicans. And the other party ain't that better. Okay, I mean, when you got the Landrieux, you got all these guys. You got 30 different senators at least that are going to vote to protect the Fed. Oh my God, we shouldn't have that audited. And you get discouraged. And then today, I hope we have time for it. Obama on FCC and what they should do with the internet and net neutrality. I mean, if Obama, look, it's just preliminary right now, and I want to save the story for a little later, right? But if Obama backpedals away from net neutrality, then I'm just laying out a marker there, okay? That's it. That there's no change, there's no nothing, there's no hope, there's no nothing, okay? Then I go from, hey, look, he's a gradualist, incrementalist, trying la la la, ba da da, to no, this guy was always totally full of crap, okay? But we'll get to that later, okay? So stay on message here. On the other hand, Obama had a good speech too, and finally did something I asked for. You know what? Let me real quick give you that one, okay? So we go back and forth here. And that's how it is with Obama every day. I'm going to go to clip number 4. He was speaking at Michigan over the weekend, and for the first time that I've seen in a long time, he laid out the case for, hey, why you might need government every once in a while. I was like, oh, thank you. Finally, somebody said it. So let's give you a small portion of that speech, clip number 4.
Regulations fail. And sometimes their benefits don't justify their costs. But what troubles me is when I hear people say that all of government is inherently bad. And one of my favorite signs during the healthcare debate was somebody who said, keep your government hands out of my Medicare. Which is essentially saying, keep government out of my government-run healthcare plan. These arguments we're having over government and healthcare and war and taxes, these are serious arguments. They should arouse people's passions. And it's important for everybody to join in the debate with all the vigor that the maintenance of a free people requires. But we can't expect to solve our problems if all we do is tear each other down. You can disagree with a certain policy without demonizing the person who espouses it. You can question somebody's views and their judgment without questioning their motives or their patriotism. Throwing around phrases like socialists and Soviet-style takeover and fascists and right-wing nut, that may grab headlines, but it also has the effect of comparing our government, our political opponents, to authoritarian, even murderous regimes. Now, we've seen this kind of politics in the past. It's been practiced by both fringes of the ideological spectrum, by the left and the right, since our nation's birth, but it's starting to creep into the center of our discourse. And the problem with it is not the hurt feelings of the bruised egos of the public officials who are criticized. Remember, they signed up for it. Michelle always reminds me that. The problem is that this kind of vilification and over-the-top rhetoric closes the door to the possibility of compromise.
All right, and you know, I read the transcript of the speech, and he went even further in saying, hey, listen, you got to make a case for what government does right and what it does wrong. It sounded, honestly, like me talking. Now, not as far as I go, of course, not in terms of the balancing of government. It's not that I want necessarily even more government than Obama does, but, you know, it wasn't as, well, impassioned, perhaps, as I get sometimes. But it was good. It was a good start, and I was very encouraged to see that. I wish he would do a lot more of that. Now, since I brought it up earlier, now let me tell you the unfortunate downside of what he's doing with actual policy. Look, net neutrality suffered a loss in a very important court case where Comcast was allowed to decide what websites they're going to slow down, what websites they're going to speed up, okay? Now, if they do that, that's disastrous, because then Comcast has, or whoever happens to be your internet provider, it could be AT&T, Verizon, etc., has the ability to say, hey, you know what, I don't really like that kind of speech. Or look, most simply, that's my competitor. I don't like that. They say in the beginning, well, file sharing takes up so much time and so much space. Can we just make sure that it goes a little slower so it's fairer to everyone else? The court agrees. We're all in a lot of trouble because it's going to start with file sharing, which I don't think they can make a good case for it to begin with. Then it goes to, well, that's my competitor, and I paid a lot of money to put this pipeline, so I'm going to slow down their websites. Then it goes to, well, somebody's criticizing Comcast, and I don't really like that, so I'm going to slow down their website to a crawl so that you really can't access it. And it goes on and on. And this is the concept of net neutrality, and Comcast and the big providers are against neutrality. They want to be able to pick and choose the winners and losers and which websites you can go to effectively and not effectively, right? And now what the FCC can do is, first of all, the Obama administration should appeal that case. We'll see how they react to that, and we'll see if they appeal it. And now what the FCC can do is actually they can avoid that mess altogether by just simply reclassifying the internet services as a telecommunications network, in which case they would have the ability to regulate it, like they do with AT&T and Verizon and all the other telecommunication networks. Makes sense. It's in the same exact category. Now, Obama during the campaign said, oh, absolutely, net neutrality. We can't have anything else. And he put as FCC chair Julius Janikowski. And he said, oh, absolutely, net neutrality. Oh, we're so on your side, I'll tell you what. Now there's a Washington Post story saying that Janikowski is leaning in the direction of letting the broadband industry be deregulated. Who needs regulation? Yeah, how'd that work out for you in other fields? How'd that work out in financial reform for you? And now you're going to make this voluntary for Comcast? Now, look, the reason I say it's not over is because this decision is not final yet. We have to see what they do with the appeal, and we'll see if the FCC changes their mind and decides to regulate this. But if they don't, and they allow the Comcast, et cetera, of the world to be able to decide what you get to see on the internet and what you don't, that is a disastrous and grotesque decision. And that would be the worst thing that Bush and Cheney could do, because it effectively limits the freedom of speech and allows the corporate America and multinational corporations to choose who gets to speak and who doesn't in the most important medium of all these days, the internet. And so if Bush or Cheney was doing it, I brought that up because they were pushing in that direction, we would be livid over it. If Obama does it, we should be just as livid, honestly, maybe even more livid, because he promised the exact opposite. At least Bush and Cheney told you, yeah, look, I'm going to side with the corporations every time. And free speech, I don't really care about your free speech rights. Remember when they used to arrest people that came to the political rallies and had the wrong bumper sticker on their cars or the wrong T-shirts, right? So at least they were a little bit more upfront about it. Whereas Obama and the current FCC chair are like, oh, yeah, net neutrality, we're on your side, open internet, open freedom, yeah. Oh, Comcast, you were writing the checks? Yeah, no problem. That's a joke. We're deregulating. You decide whatever you like to do. Okay, I'm not going crazy right now because the decision is not final. But if it does, that means that the whole Obama promise, everything about challenging the system, etc., everything was a joke. Everything was a big fat lie. And he is as corporatist as anyone in the country. If he lets the corporations take over the internet, I can't imagine a worse scenario. So let's see what he does. He still has some time. Good luck to all of us. Okay, now I keep going back between bad and worse, right? So I'm going to go back to the Republicans, and then after the break, I'm going to go to the British elections because they have the same problems we do, okay? And their elections are coming up soon. And then I want to go to Beck, worst of all. But although, like I said earlier today, Beck had a good moment. All right, so we go back to the Republicans. Cantor is at the Heritage Foundation. This is the most respected right-wing think tank. Listen to the question he gets. Listen to his answer. The first part's good, second part's questionable. And listen to the reaction from the audience. Clip number 6.
I want to thank you for coming today. I realize it's you come at a great cost. And I thank you for your passion and your enthusiasm for this country. My question is, and this is something that I personally don't understand. If it's a naive question, then I apologize. But how, in light of what Obama has done to leave us vulnerable, to cut defense spending, to make us vulnerable to our outside enemies, and to slight our allies, what would he have to do differently to be defined as a domestic enemy?
Listen. Let me respond very forthright to that. You know, no one thinks that the president is a domestic enemy. It is important for us to remember we have the freedom of discourse in this country. And the president's policies, the administration's priorities, in my opinion, do not reflect the majority of this country, do not reflect the common sense conservative traditions upon which the greatness of this country was built.
All right. First, let's start with no one thinks that he's a domestic enemy, except apparently that entire crowd at the Heritage Foundation. Because when the guy accused them of being a domestic enemy, they all cheered. We heard it with our own ears. We saw it with our own eyes. And then when Cantor said, oh, nobody thinks he's a domestic enemy, they almost literally said in unison, Schwang, wang, wang. Oh, come on. He doesn't agree with us. He must be a domestic enemy. So now, to be fair to Cantor, he said, as you heard there, look, you can't call him that, right? And then he went on to say, obviously the majority of Americans disagree with him. That's why they elected him president, and they didn't elect your party? And he said, he's against, the majority of opinion, which is conservative in this country. Again, based on which evidence, which voting, which elections. It doesn't appear that way, Congressman Cantor. But I think what the main takeaway from this is, look at that room in the Heritage Foundation. These are not the riffraff. These are not a couple of guys that are drunk at a tea party, okay? This is supposed to be the most prestigious right-wing think tank. And that guy's wearing a tie, so he's like, well, how shall I put this, Is the president a terrorist? Oh, rather good, Jolly-O. I don't know why I made him British. Anyway, so it's disturbing, man. One side of this country has lost its mind. And they think that if you don't agree with them, well, then you're an enemy of the state, even if you're the president of the United States. All right, look, when we come back, the British elections, Bigot Gate, that's very interesting, and I hope we have time for some wacky Beck clips. All right, Young Turks.
Mount up. It was a clear black night, a clear white moon.
All right, first of all, I'm fascinated by that shot. I continue to be every time we're coming in during the break. Number two, for those of you who are watching the show, number two, I love that song. In a lot of ways, that could be our theme song. Regulators, mount up! All right, now off we go to the United Kingdom. We apparently have a fascinating race there, a three-way race, and it's, of course, between the Prime Minister Gordon Brown of the Labour Party and Conservative Party leader David Cameron, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Nick Clegg of the Liberal Democrats, delivering the hammer. We got a little bit of Clegg mania going on in Great Britain, and what you gonna do when Clegg mania comes? Was after you? I can't believe I forgot the Hulkamania line. What you gonna do when Hulkamania comes down on you? Okay, sorry. So Clegg mania is coming, and it partly happened because of a televised debate. Great Britain decided to join the 21st century, and they're like, I got a crazy idea. Why don't we take the leaders of the different parties and do a debate and put it on television? And then people are like, wow! And then when they heard everybody and they saw everybody, they're like, well, that Nick Clegg guy makes a lot of sense. I don't know why we're always voting for just either Labour or the Conservatives. So all of a sudden, Nick Clegg shot up. And now it looks like, before it appeared that Cameron was going to win, the Conservative leader. Now he still has the lead, but Nick Clegg has overtaken Gordon Brown in the polls for now, coming into second place. So now the Labour Party is in third place. And they're going into election on Thursday. We're going to see what's going to happen here. Now, I don't know enough about the British elections to be able to say, oh, yeah, I'm definitely on his side or that guy's side. Now, obviously, given our experience here in America, I'm going to lean against the Conservatives. Now, I don't know if their Conservatives are as loony as our Conservatives, right? And I'd have to look into all the different issues to make that judgment call. But here's what I know and why I am sympathizing with Nick Clegg here and the people supporting him. Because here in America, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So if you, don't like the Iraq War, you go to the Republicans and they say, oh, we love the Iraq War, we'd love to start a couple more. And then you go to the so-called liberals in the Democratic Party and they go, oh, well, what can we do? We have to support Bush's Iraq War and we will continue that war for a very, very long time. And then we'll take his other war, Afghanistan, and we'll escalate that. And you're like, okay. And then you go to every other decision. And Republicans say, we want to do offshore drilling. Obama says, all right, I want to do offshore drilling, but just a tiny bit less than the Republicans. And on it goes, healthcare reform, financial reform. Every time you're like, can I get another alternative, please? Can I see what's behind door number 3? And so apparently in Great Britain, behind door number 3 is Nick Clegg and Cleggmania. And I like that. And so, I'm curious to see how it's going to wind up. And if he does get some degree of power, then how he governs. That would be very interesting as well. So we'll see how the elections play out there. Now, one thing affecting the elections is Bigotgate. Gordon Brown apparently talking to a woman in the street, then forgets that his mic is on. Now, I don't have to explain the whole thing to you because we got a clip here where he's on a radio show. And this is just great political theater, no matter what country you're in. Because he's going to get confronted by the tape. He's trying to dodge and weave. And then when they hit him with the tape, that hurts the big guy. So let's watch clip number 5.
A microphone picked you up saying that was a very bigoted woman. Is that what you said?
I apologise if I've said anything like that.
Yeah.
What I think she was raising with me was an issue about immigration and saying that there were too many people from Eastern Europe in the country. And I do apologise if I've said anything that has been hurtful, and I will apologise to her personally.
Someone has just handed me the tape. Let's play it and see if we can hear it.
She'd never have put me with that woman. Whose idea was that?
I don't know, I didn't see her.
It's Sue, I think. It's just ridiculous.
I'm not sure they'll go with that one.
They will go with.
What did she say?
Everything. She's just a sort of bigoted woman. Said she used to be a lady. I mean, it's just
that is what you said. Is she not allowed to express her view to you?
Of course she's allowed to express her view, and I was saying that. The problem was that I was dealing with a question that she raised about immigration, and I wasn't given a chance to answer it because we had a whole melee of press around her. But of course I apologise if I've said anything that has been offensive, and I would never put myself in a position where I would want to say anything like that about a woman I met. It was a question about immigration that really I think was annoying.
And you're blaming a member of your staff there, Sue, is it?
No, I'm blaming myself, and I blame myself for what is done. But you've got to remember that this was me being helpful to the broadcasters with my microphone on, rushing into the car because I had to get to another appointment, and they have chosen to play my private conversation with the person who was in the car with me. I know these things can happen. I apologise profusely to the lady concerned. I don't think she is that. I think it was just the view that she expressed that I was worried about that I couldn't respond to.
That was awesome. First of all, one of my favorite political moments of all time when he, face palms himself when he's like, oh, God. When they're making him listen to it, and he's like, oh, the pain. Make the pain stop. Please stop the tape. First, he's like, well, if I said that. And they're like, well, here's the tape. And then my second favorite moment is when the person interviewing him is like, that is what you said. It's like great British stutter. That is what you said. So, I was blaming myself. No, you were blaming the staffer. Okay. I found what she said annoying. Well, that's true, right? And her name is Gillian Duffy. She's 65 years old. Before she found out that he had said this about her, she's like, look, I'm still going to vote for Labour. Then she finds out that he said this. She said, well, I'm not voting for Labour anymore. Okay. So that's very understandable, and I know why the controversy exists. But the thing is, Gordon Brown might not be wrong about it. That's the part that bothers me a little bit. I mean, she, in her comments, talked about, all these Eastern Europeans are coming over here. Where are they coming from? Taking jobs, etc. And that's not enough to call her a bigot. But if Gordon Brown's a little concerned that that came off as bigoted, it's not that crazy. It's a fair concern. So, I wouldn't have handled the way Gordon Brown did. I would have been like, look, I shouldn't have said that. That's a voter. And I don't know enough about her, right? But at the same time, I was concerned about that, and I should be concerned about that kind of comment. Boom, there it is. Not, oh my God, oh please stop the tape, Jesus Christ. And right now, he says he's going to take full responsibility if his party loses. Yeah, I would think so, especially if you come in third. So, a bit disastrous on Gordon Brown's part. All right, that's the British elections for you. Oh, you know what we're going to do? Live coverage of the British elections on TYT. We have a reporter on the spot, and she's going to Skype in, and we're going to try to cover it for you as best as we can. We'll give you more updates on that as the elections come nearer and nearer, and, which is very, very soon, I think tomorrow, our time. So definitely tune in for that. I believe it's going to be at the 8 o'clock Eastern here in the U.S. that we're going to have live coverage of the British elections. So check that out on theyoungturks.com. All right, we'll be right back.